Okay, we're going to go through Raccoon now. We're going to show you a few things on fur handling that can make a difference. Okay, these are all good Raccoon. This little knife cut here, we were just discussing that. I wouldn't throw it out for that. It was an inline cut that's going to be simple. You know, it's not going to go in with a select, obviously, but that's not going to throw that out as a number 3. But clean fleshed and properly stretched. Okay, this is a coon that was done on a board. These two were done on wire. And what I'm going to show you here is, people say, well, I wash and tumble all my coon. If your coon is not dirty, not a mud ball, not full of burrs and stuff, do not wash them. And we're going to show you why. Okay, this was board stretched, which is probably stretched a little hard, and had been washed. Okay, this and this are stretched on a wire that were not washed. When a buyer picks up a raccoon, he grabs it like this and he goes like this. And he wants to see that fur sticking up. You know, it's nice and consistent. You've got good coverage. See all the guard hairs on the flanks? Okay, you pick it up like that, you know it's a good coon. You know, you got good coon. When you do this, you notice it's not sticking up, it doesn't puff up, and it doesn't look like it has the bulk. And that's mostly because when you wash a raccoon, the under fur down under here, it kind of clumps on itself. It's very difficult to get the under fur to fluff back up and separate, to puff it up and give it this bulk, unless you have a tall tumbler. Tumbling in a clothes dryer with a little bit of sawdust isn't going to do it. I mean, you've really got to clean it up. So the best thing you can do is, if a coon is not so dirty that it needs washed to be able to put it up, don't wash it, don't clean it. Be careful about how hard you stretch a raccoon, because it can thin the fur out. And the shape of the board, okay, this one looks pretty decent. I mean, the board's got a little narrower head on it. Move it up here. You see you got a little bit narrow head, which is going to give you a little bit more length, but that's not major. Where you run into a problem is when the guys use the wedge head boards, leave the nose come down to here, pin the bottom, and then they put a screwdriver under the nose here and they pry it back up over the end of the board, and you end up with an ears from nose to ear, instead of being this long, as this long. You know, they're picking up an extra inch.
Now Keith, what about adjustable wood boards? Like, do you see a similar result with that to wire, or closer to the wood?
I mean, yeah, the wood's great. It's a consistent put up if you don't try to overstretch them and you use the right board. The adjustables, the thing about that is, you know, guys will collapse them and they'll pin them down and then they pull them back wide. Okay, if you do too much pulling, when you pull too long and then you pull it out to get the tension, you've thinned your fur out so much, which is part of the problem with this one. The fur, it's there. When this coon dresses, it's going to be a nice skin, but it's not going to be the same size as this one. This will be a significantly larger skin when it's dressed than this one will. But if you guys feel this, I mean, come up and feel it. Just feel the weight and feel the cushion in there, and then feel the length and the density.
Feels a lot flimsier
right.
than others.
But when you feel that fur, you just got a thicker, heavier fur in these ones that have not been washed. You see what I'm saying?
Well, it's very, very obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just by when you first pick it up, you can tell the difference.
Right.
And then when you
feel
run your
the weight.
hands,
Yep.
it just feels it's way thin. But you said that when this is in the finished form, it'll fluff up.
It will fluff up when it's finished.
But when we're buying it, or you're going to sell it, the buyer is going to not want to pay as much for this one because it doesn't feel as good right now.
Correct. The first impression, when you pick it up, you got this skin here weighs 50% more than this. So when you first pick it up, you think heavy, semi-heavy. You know, it's the first impression. I mean, they're fine as far as the handling, the scraping and stretching, everything's good there. But it's that weight that gives you the feel with the weight. And these are good sized coon. I mean, these were big coon. The smaller coon is not as noticeable, but you can, when it comes to grading, when I pick this up, it's thin. It's a little short and it's thin. I pick this up, it's long and it's thick. You know, it's first impression. But anyway, those are good for 1s and 2s. You know, pretty clean leather. That little hemorrhage there isn't going to be a problem. When you get up in here, that's not a big deal. You know, that's nothing to get worried about. But those are going to be your 1s and 2s. Now, we start going downhill. Okay. See all the bite marks up here? This is late season coon. And you see all the tooth punctures. Okay, this was in breeding season. And we're gonna, when we're done with this, we're gonna do an additional that has some dress stuff, and we're gonna show you what happens up here. Because it looks good down here, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's a really nice looking coon down there. But you're gonna have this whole area up here is gonna be very weak, very thin because of these bite marks. That, you know, that's one, yeah, I'm feeling up in there. Hear it? Term scratch back.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Depending on the size of the lot, this is borderline going as a number 3. Okay. It's hard to 3 a raccoon when it's got this much here, you know, as heavy as this is, and it's just got that scratch back up there. Okay. Now, there's another one. You're starting to lose fur up in here where you got that black spot. It's starting to show a little bit of the shedding right here. See, it's starting to come up in that brown coming up in the hip. Okay, it doesn't look bad yet. I mean, that's actually a pretty good colored coon for an Ohio coon. That was, somebody on the beam did that. We'll ignore that. But it looks good there. It's starting to get a little springy here, and it's getting springy here. That's going to go out as a slight. I mean, it's not going to make a 1-2. That'll probably dress up as a really nice coon. So for around here, it's good colored. You know, good coverage, good fur. Okay, here we have 2 things against it. We've got the bite marks up here. We're starting to lose it up here, and it's also gut snared. Okay, the gut snare is automatically going to throw it out as a slight. Again, it's a nice looking coon down here. It's a dark one. Okay, that, and we'll look at color here while I got him in my hand. You know, that's probably, in my book, this is going to go as a C color because it's so dark. This is one of the few skins that we get around here that will go as an AB. You guys see the difference in those two?
Yeah.
So I'm sure that, you know, that sticks out like a sore thumb. You know, Ohio does not have a lot of AB colored coon. We got a lot of C color, and we got as many D color, not more than we do AB color. But, you know, automatically that's going to throw it out as a slight. When you see a snare mark, the other thing you have to look for, a lot of times right in this neighborhood, there'll be a big bald spot. That's when somebody's using a snare with a big washer lock. Okay, these were snared with Gregersons, and you don't get that damage from a lock because the Gregerson isn't big and rubbing in there. Plus it holds still. It doesn't move around like a washer does. Okay, this one's going downhill even a little bit further. All the dark here, this is starting to get springy up here. This is going to be shedding a lot up in through this area. Bite marks all the way down, snare across there. It doesn't look bad here, but in all honesty, once you fill up in here, there's going to be so much missing up here. This is going to be a number 3 because it's going to be very weak in this section up through here. Okay, another one with the snare on the hips, tear on the belly. Good colored, a little weak. You know, it was a little later coon. You know, starting to lose it a little bit, but it is good colored. But between the snare and the damage here, this one's going to get thrown out as a number 3. Here's another one that's going to be real bad up in here. See all the dark up in here? That fur is all going to be real wiry and thin right up through here. Yeah, looks good here. You know, the first appearance, you pick it up, you know, nice heavy coon, decent colored, got a lot of black and silver in it. But this kills this coon. Again, this is a late season coon. This is a late January coon. People say, yeah, the coon are good into February. No, they're not. Just like they say the coyotes are good. No, they're not. You know, even if it doesn't look it here, when it's dressed, it's going to be bad here. And that's what we're going to show you in a little bit. Okay, early raccoon, this is what they call slate. It's not done growing yet. The fur is not prime. I don't have any bad low grades out here because we don't buy them, but you can feel it. Rub your hand on there, you feel that. It feels like 5 o'clock shadow. It's bristly. Yeah. Okay, that's because the hairs are still, actually you can see some of them coming through here. See the hairs coming through. When the hairs are still growing, they're rooted deep. The bulb that takes up everything to make the hair grow is rooted down to get the blood and the proteins and stuff. So that's what's dark, is actually the base of the hair roots. When they're done growing, that bulb recedes up into the skin. And when it recedes up into the skin, you lose the dark looks. The dark look is because of the butts of all the guard hairs in there. And doesn't look terrible. I mean, it's a little thin. It's definitely not a low grade because it does have good coverage. And the reason we got this is this was a sow that had a late litter. Okay, so when you see this, okay, the belly's going to be shot because she was still swollen up. So the belly will be shot, but the back is not really that bad. But that's going to get thrown out as a 3 in my book. I'm not going to low grade this because it's too good here. And even though you will have some hair pulling through on the finished skin, it's still going to be a presentable skin, but it's going to have no belly on it. So if it's darker and it's flat, then that's when you're going to end up throwing it out as a low grade. Or if you've got the windows like we saw in the possum, you know, the slippage windows and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that would be a good buy for somebody as a 3. But that's honestly what it is because you've got nothing here. The belly's gone on this. Oh, wait a minute. One more. Okay. You don't see coon this small that are actually good. They're usually worse than this as far as color and flat. But this is actually a West Virginia skin, and it was just a small bodied coon. It's nice and prime. It's actually got a really nice color, and it's got a nice silky fur on it. I mean, if this had the size to it, that's the kind of fur that would probably get thrown in as a Western, you know, in with the Dakotas, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, because it's got that long nap and it's got that nice bright color. We don't see a whole lot of that in the East. You know, most of ours are this darker, coarser like we went through earlier. We're going to go through some raccoon that after they're dressed to kind of show you what the results are from the different things that we showed you on the raw skin. When we're talking about springing, where you saw the brown coming up over the rump, okay, that's where they're starting to shed. And if you look through here, it's turning fuzzy because the guard hairs are shedding out. And also, you can feel it. The underfurs are getting loose and it all knots up in there. That underfur felts up. Same thing happens on the coyotes, the late season coyotes and stuff. This is past prime. And you see what's happened here is it's getting dull, it's getting knotted up. This is when you look at the leather side and you see that brown that starts coming up over the rump, that's what's happening here. Same thing happens on a late mink. You see that brown shadow coming up, that's where you're going to have these dull, broke down guard hairs. Stuff going every which way instead of having that nice, neat, groomed look. Okay, here's another one. It's getting thin back in here, and if you look, see how it's shedding out underneath. It's getting real dull, it's getting brown, you've actually got bald spots, it's starting to clump up. This is a late coon. You know what I mean? You're talking, it's pretty typical on your mid to late January coons, what they call springy. You're going to have that brown patch coming up over the rump. Not too terrible up here yet. This one's still holding some fur up here in the top part, but it's getting real bad here on the rump. Okay. This one, you see it's starting to lose it. Again, it's a little bit springy, but see how thin it is when you come up in this area. Okay, it's getting very thin here. See all the little scars? These are all the bite marks and tick bites and stuff. This is the area here where it's thinning out. So if you remember the dried coon that had all the marks and the dark strip up here, this is what you get. Okay, it's thin. It's still got fur there, but it's getting very thin. Okay, this is actually one that's a little bit early. Okay. It's starting to get coverage, but it's thin. You know, it doesn't have the fur put on yet. It's got a little bit thin spot there that could have been damaged from something else. But that's a little bit early yet. You know, it's a little short yet, and it's a little bit thin. Okay, a lot of damage right here. This is breeding season type damage. A lot of scar tissue there, stiff. It doesn't make a good quality skin because of that. And you can kind of see a line right about here, where from here forward it's a lot thinner. This right here is where the damage is. It starts thinning out. When you see a raccoon that has, actually this next one's going to be a good example of that. When you see a raccoon that the skin, on the skin side, from the shoulders forward, you see this kind of a tan line going across there, a wide swap. That's where it's already shedding out. This is what you're going to have. Again, this is a late season. See, it's fading on the rump. It's springy coon, but you've got fur here, and then from here forward it just disappears. It's just real flat. There's nothing here. That's typical on the late season, and when you see that kind of a brown band going across there, there's just nothing underneath. There's nothing left there. But that just gives you an idea of when you see it on the leather, this is what the outcome is going to be. That's why those skins are discounted as much as they are.